start with something you guys all know pretty well. A little bit of Jingle Bells for you.
It's bright, what fun it is to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. A day or two ago. In a one-horse open sleigh, a day or two ago, the story I must tell. I went out on the snow, and on my back I fell. A gent was riding by in a one-horse open sleigh. He left us there, I sprawling live, and quickly drove away. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Now the ground is white, go it while you're young. Take the folks tonight and sing the sleighing song. Just get a bobtail bay, 240 at his speed. Hitch him to an open sleigh and crack, you'll take the lead. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
All right. Thank you very much. So our concert this year is actually going to be centered on a theme of light, and we're going to talk about how our concert, which is next Wednesday night, is the day before the winter solstice, shortest daylight time of the year. And so we're going to start with songs that are all about darkness and then start to move to this wonderful world of light. And that's what we're going to present next. One of the darker songs, In the Bleak Midwinter.
In the bleak midwinter, frosty wind made moan. Earth stood hard as iron, water like a stone. Snow had fallen, snow on snow. In the bleak midwinter, long time
to return, let me see which piece I put next. We're skipping a few just for time's sake here. We're going to go into a piece of Silent Night now, an arrangement that starts in Spanish, ends in Spanish, and focuses on the word paz, which is the Spanish word for peace. And again, that's part of the light coming back into everything. Hope you enjoy Noche de Paz. Pieces for you tonight. The next one is called Winter Stars. This one is, again, that theme of light and winter, but it's using the traditional melody that goes with the first Noel. So we hope you enjoy Winter Stars.
On the first winter's night, Sarah appeared in the sky. A million bright diamonds that glistened on high.
tune for you this evening is a traditional one I think you'll recognize. We hope you enjoy Sleigh Ride.
Just hear those sleigh bells jingling, ring ting tingling too. Come on, it's lovely weather for a sleigh ride together with you.
Outside the snow is falling and friends are calling you. Come on, it's lovely weather for a sleigh ride together with you.
Giddy up, giddy up, giddy up, let's go. Let's look at the show. We're riding in a wonderland of
Wonderland of snow.
Giddy up, it's grand. Just holding your hand. We're riding along with the song of a wintry fairyland. Our cheeks are nice and rosy and comfy, cozy are we. We're snuggled up together like two birds of a feather would be. Let's sing the roll before us and sing the chorus.
Our tone before us and sing a
Come on,
chorus
it's
or
lovely
two.
weather for a sleigh ride together with you. There's a birthday party at the home of Farmer Gray. It'll be the perfect ending of a perfect day.
We'll be singing the songs we love to sing without a single stop.
At the fireplace while we watch the chestnuts pop. Pop, 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 there's a happy feeling nothing in the world can buy. When they pass around the coffee and the pumpkin pie.
It'll nearly be like a picture print by Courier and Mars.
These wonderful things are the things to remember all through our lives. These wonderful things are the things to remember all through our lives. Just hear those sleigh bells jingling, ring ting tingling too. Come on, it's lovely weather for a sleigh ride together with you.
Outside the snow is falling and friends are calling you. Come on, it's lovely weather for a sleigh ride together with you.
Giddy up, let's go. Let's look at the show. We're riding in a wonderland of
Wonderland of snow.
Giddy up, it's grand. Just holding your hand. We're riding along with the song of a wintry fairyland. Our cheeks are nice and rosy and comfy, cozy are we. We're snuggled up together like the birds of a feather would be. Let's sing the roll before us and sing a chorus
Sing
or
a
two.
roll before us and sing a
Come on,
chorus or
it's
two.
lovely weather for a sleigh ride together with you. Lovely weather for a sleigh ride together with you.
Yeah.
Thank you all very much. I hope you have a great meeting. We're going to go down and do our rehearsal now, so enjoy the night and have fun. Grab your stuff and head down to the auditorium.
Thank you. We appreciate the personal.
Oh, no, that doesn't count. This is the warm-up.
We appreciate the
Bravo,
personal,
guys.
personal concert. Thanks, Todd.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Mr. Hellman.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Has anybody heard anything from Rachel?
Yeah, she said she'll be here right at 7.
Well,
It's a little after 7.
my bad.
I'm wondering if she just, like, was the door closed? Did she think she maybe should stay out?
No, there were people coming in.
Oh, oh, that's true.
Good to see the shirt, Val.
Thank you. Thursday comes back.
Right?
Thursday's the day.
Thursday?
Yep.
Hard to find parking.
Having coach.
Did you have trouble finding parking too? No. Oh, good.
I'll go with somebody. Sorry. I just have this.
Oh, for, Yes, I'll go with you and I'll bring that with me. All right. All right. We would like to call the meeting of the Plainville Board of Education to order for Monday, December 11th, 2023. And thank everyone for tuning in, attending. And our first item of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. White, would you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And next we have special presentations. Mr. Reese? We should, yes. We're going to head over and do this with our PCS All-Star, Miss Emily Wasley.
Are we on? So, yes, Emily Wasley, thank you for joining us this evening. We are very excited to award you tonight, and we will hear from your department.
Hello, I'm Deb Peichel, and I'm very excited to introduce Emily Wasley for this month's PCS All-Star Award. Emily stands out for her unwavering commitment to philanthropy and kindness. She has worked tirelessly to make empathy thrive in the halls of PHS. She has guided the Social Change Association through various initiatives such as an art auction, crystal sales, custom shoe auctions, Mario Kart competitions, and more to build community and raise money. The money raised has helped to support the First Nations Development Institute, LGBTQ+ and LGBTQ+ friendly organizations, Prudence Crandall Center, and the Child Health and Development Institute. For each event, Emily devotes many hours behind the scenes to ensure they run smoothly. The event that stands out most in my mind is the Prom Dress Boutique. Emily collected almost 100 donated prom dresses, added boutique style tags to each dress, arranged dresses by size on clothing racks, and advertised the event. PHS students were then able to come and buy the dresses and accessories for less than $10. Thanks to Emily and the Social Change Association, attending prom was made possible for many of our PHS students. Emily has created a ripple effect of positive change, inspiring all to embrace the values of compassion and selflessness. Thank you for recognizing and celebrating Emily as a model of philanthropy and an embodiment of kindness with the PCS All-Star Award.
All right. Thank you. That brings us next to our approval of minutes. We have two sets of minutes. Would anyone like to make motion?
I'd like to make a motion. These are the main meeting minutes. Forgive me. Never mind.
You don't want to make the motion?
No, it was the Linden meeting minutes I was thinking of.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Madam
I'll
Chair.
make a motion. Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the last month's Board of Education
Something wrong with our
meeting minutes.
Okay. All right.
Second.
So we have the minutes from November 13th as well as November 29th. Was that motion for both sets? Are we good with that, or are we doing just one at a time? And I'll,
Motion for both
both
sets.
sets, okay. And that's all right with you, Mr.
Second.
Okay. Are there any corrections that on these meeting minutes? Ms. Joan, yes.
Okay, in the minutes for November 13th, the state scholastic book fair netted $3 for book donations for teachers, classroom libraries, and students who could not afford books. The amount was $3,000, not $300.
$3,000.
In addition, another $3,000 in funds will be used in the spring for the annual book fair. If I could add that and make the change.
Make the change like that. So, let's see.
That's under item G.
Okay. So that's in the actual minutes from last month, right? Would we like to make a motion that we pass the minutes with that adjustment? Is that okay?
So moved, Madam Chairman.
Okay. And a second?
Second, Rebecca.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you so much. And that brings us to our student representatives report. That got moved way up there, Val. You're really lucky. But good to see you. Thank you for coming out. And so come on up to the podium and
It's on, right? Okay. Good evening, everyone. These past few months have been very, very busy at PHS with college applications in full speed for seniors and fall finals conducting for all sports as the winter ones begin. There has been a major focus on creating service projects for the Plainville community through different NHS programs, and we are looking forward to the start of the new semester post vacation. So in the sports section, the winter sports season has successfully started. The boys basketball team will be having their first game on Thursday, December 14th against Bristol Eastern, and the game will be held at Plainville. The girls basketball team will be having their first game at Portland on December 12th against Portland. Wrestling already had their first scrimmage a weekend ago at Farmington and will be having their first fully scored match against Weathersfield at Plainville High School. The boys indoor track team started practices 2 weeks ago along with our boys and swim and dive team, and the hockey co-op will be holding their first game on December 13th at Cromwell. And for this presentation, I've included a new section that will be repeated in the future, community service at PHS. With the holiday season coming up, the Science National Honor Society is holding a toy drive December 11th to 15th. Toys can be dropped off in the front of the main office. Toys will be donated to Connecticut's Children's Hospital. The holiday extravaganza will be getting held on December 15th from 6 to 9 at Plainville High School, $5 per ticket. Pictures with Santa, raffle baskets, arts and crafts, and so much more will be happening. The Social Change Association is holding a blanket drive from December 11th to 15th. Newly and gently used blankets will be donated to local shelters, nonprofit organizations, and other blankets will be donated to Plainville Paws Animal Shelter. And the PHS NHS chapter has begun in-person tutoring for all subjects at all levels, and all high school students, no matter the grade level, are being encouraged to sign up for tutoring in the library. And the production of NHS videos has also begun, with students working to create Khan Academy-like videos on PHS material for PHS students to follow along. The first batch of these videos should be coming out in about 2 weeks, and we'll have about 20-ish videos ready. That concludes the student perspective.
all right. Thanks so much, Val. Appreciate your time. Brings us to citizens' comments. If there were any citizens in the room, other than those of us up here, we invite you to come and speak to us on behalf of the board. We'd invite you to do so, but I'm not going to repeat it 3 times. I'm going to break the rule just because there's nobody in the room with us. So, council liaison, Mr. Wazorko reported that he is a little under the weather and was not going to join us and spread things around, so he's not here with us tonight. And that brings us to the superintendent's report. Mr. Reese.
Good evening. There's no better way to start a meeting other than to have absolutely beautiful music in front of us. We were very excited today to hear from the state that our food service program passed with flying colors with the State Department, the Department of Health's inspection program. So we're very excited about that. I was over at Tuflon this morning, and there were some very grateful kids enjoying the playscape, which you were part of making sure happened. So that was a very nice piece to do. We are currently drafting, the Town Council is getting ready to look at the MSP project's referendum date setting. They are looking at a time, as I understand it, at the end of February. And so on 12/18, they'll be, as I understand it, talking about what the next steps are. So we actually met with the town's attorney to try to understand some of the next technical steps on our end. And we're doing some work. Sam and I are working on some of those pieces right now. We were very excited to host New London and Brookfield school systems as they came to look at our bilingual program. And from what I understand, we're very impressed with what they saw. And we're not surprised. We're very excited about that program. We also had an inquiry through the town about putting up a cell tower near either middle school or Toflon. That's the area they'd like to look at. So we don't have the details on that yet, but that's something of interest that's coming down the way. And I'll let you know when we have more information about that. Mr. Alderstein and I have been working really hard to try to figure out how to work through the budget for the 24-25 budget. It's unique, as you know, the grants from ESSER and ARP ESSER are ending, so it's a very unique year. But we're working through it, and we'll figure it out. One thing I wanted to let you know is we're working on a letter to speak to our athletic groups in the community. And the athletic groups, essentially, we've been having conversations around the program. And one of the primary issues we're having is the amount of desired use of our facilities by outside groups far exceeds what we actually have for space and time. So we're trying to sort that out. There was also some financial policies that were flexible when the pandemic hit. Because of the unique situation programs were in. They were all trying to rebuild after the pandemic. And so we're trying to also sort out, having conversations about getting back on the financial program that was how programs would pay for services as they did prior to the pandemic. So some of those conversations have gone just fine. All we've done is taken information. We've not at this point changed anything about what we're doing, but we're trying to figure out what the next steps forward are. So the letter essentially will say that we've received the feedback we need to try to sort out what the next steps are for our programs. We certainly want to support those athletic programs in town. At the same time, we're trying to figure out how to do that with the limited, wonderful, but also limited space that we have to offer them, given many of our facilities, athletic facilities anyway, especially the indoor facilities, are used quite extensively for practices of our home teams, the high school teams, middle school teams, et cetera. So we're working through that. Hopefully that will work out. We have a few dates ahead of us. I'm not totally sure. Please don't ask me what exactly the holiday extravaganza is. I understand that it's a very exciting thing and that it's a fundraiser, and it's here at the high school. The winter choir concert's next week. I think our music person mentioned that, Mr. Helming, the 20th at 7 o'clock in the auditorium. And, it's just always good to remember that on Friday we have the early release. And as far as the Board of Education goes, we have a retreat planned for January 9th in the evening at 6 o'clock. So that is the superintendent's report. If it's okay, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Lewandowski and ask him to share with us the enrollment report in a brief synopsis.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. So this is the annual class size and staffing report that I'm going to present. I will be brief, and I just want you to remember as we go through that, from this point, we have our current staffing and enrollment numbers from December 1st, and our best predictions of what next year will look like based on our numbers now. But just know that that's going to change, and we'll continue to review these numbers throughout the year and work with our administrators to make the best decisions for staffing and class sizes. So if we go to the next slide, this is the enrollment report that we had paid for in late spring of last year with SLAM Collaborative. And if we look at the 2024-25 numbers for next year, the prediction is about 2,302 students. This was the median projection. So there was a high projection, a medium projection, and then a low projection. Right now, and we'll get to the slide soon that shows where we think we stand for next year based on these current numbers, we'd be more closer to the low projection, so under that 2,300. If you go to the next slide. Now this very colorful slide, if you just follow the colors from present time to next year, we kind of move and shift the current population of students that are in one grade to the following year in the next grade. What we did this year was we kept the kindergarten numbers that we have currently and just shifted those to the right. So we kept those larger numbers. Sometimes we'll take those preschool numbers and just shift them down, which is about 120 is what we use as our capacity for preschool. But we had a larger group last year that came into kindergarten. If you remember, we did hire that extra kindergarten teacher at the beginning of this year. So we're going to hold those numbers and plan for another big group of kindergartners this year. But if you look at the bottom total, currently we have 1,041 elementary students pre-K through 5. Next year we're looking at about 40 less, about 1,003 if we took that model and just shifted students down. Next slide. So if you look at the projections for our secondary schools, for middle school and high school, we're projected to gain a few students, not too many, 10 students at the middle school and 7 students at the high school. But at the, we do have some bubble groups, as you can see, moving through. At high school, that's one of our larger enrollments in the past several years, is that 700 mark. Middle school, we fluctuate between that mid 500s to low 500s, so we're right in that area. Next slide. So just another way to look at our enrollment projections for elementary, middle, and high school. So projected grade level enrollment for pre-K, that's that 1,003 number you saw on that previous slide. You can see the total numbers of our secondary schools that we just showed. And then the team size for middle school, we have our team model. It just shows you we have 2 teams per each grade level. And then those in-district projected school enrollments to the right for each school. We kind of remain the way we do, with Linden being our largest elementary school. And you can see those numbers. And again, 2,227 at this point for in-district pre-K through 12 total. If you remember that past slide, it was about 2,300 for the total, not 3,000. We gained a couple schools there. That 2,300, so it's a little lower than what that, so it's more on the low projection that SLAM had produced. But again, these are very tentative. We have a lot of movement, and I'm get to another slide later that shows the movement that we do have in district. So it's I wouldn't bank on those numbers, and then I'll get into the choice numbers soon, and that's another area that we focus on with our projections. So if you go to that next slide. So this just goes through by grade level in school. It gives you a total of projected choice enrollment based on what we have now and shifting them to the next grade. We did lose some choice students this year due to them moving out of Hartford, out of our control, but then students that graduate and move on. So if you look at that district total of 91, we're usually up in around the 120 choice student range. Right now we're at 91 currently. So obviously, if we looked at projecting forward, we're going to be adding choice students to grade levels and to classes where we have the capacity. So that's a decision we make year to year. Some years we have a lower number. We can add more choice students. Some years we're at a number that's pretty high and we can't add as many. So it looks like this year we will be adding a few choice students where we can. But again, that's all dependent on grade, class sizes, grades, schools. So that's a discussion that's ongoing. We also have students that choose out-of-district options. Magnet schools in Hartford or CREC, they choose technical high schools or VOAG high schools. The special ed number on top is our outplacement number. In that number for special ed students, 4 of those students are currently on homebound instruction and we're looking for placements for them. The majority of placements right now are full. So we're constantly looking at adequate and appropriate placements for students. But if you look at that total number, a lot of years that number of overall out of district and then district total of choice students match up. And they're pretty close with it's it's a tiny net gain or loss either way. Right now, you see the differential of 30 students. It's a bigger differential than we've had in the past. So again, we do have the option next year of adding more choice students as we move forward. This is this year. So this is just giving you an idea of how many certified classroom teachers we have in each grade level in each school, and the total is 62. And you can see, obviously, by size of school, Linden has the most and Wheeler has the least amount of teachers. If you go to the next slide, sorry for that, Kevin. If you go to the next slide, this would be the proposed staffing just based, and remember, these are not written in stone. These will change. They will definitely shift. But it just shows if we were to shift classrooms and number of students from one grade level to the next, this is kind of how it would play out. So total number of teachers we would think we would need next year would be one less than we have this year based on our class sizes and enrollment in each grade level. And then I'll move on to show you how that impacts like class sizes next year. So if you go to the next slide, this is class sizes across elementary schools from 2013-14 up until our projection of next year of what our class sizes would look like with the students that we have and staffing. So we're pretty similar in class sizes to where we've been. We look better at the lower grade levels. I know last year the lower grade levels actually looked pretty big. We had to do some shifting around, which we tend to do if we have those bubbles of students where we need to shift teachers, but we look like we have the class sizes that are manageable and that we've had in the past moving forward for next year. And you like to see the lower to the higher, kind of that movement of, low at kindergarten and preschool and getting upwards to the 20s in fifth grade. That's the kind of progression we want to see. And then that next slide is if we for 23-24, if you're looking at secondaries, you're looking at both middle school and high school with our current staffing levels. These are the numbers we have: 114 and a 0.2. We have teachers that teach partial loads or they travel and teach 0.6 at the middle, 0.4 at the high school. So we have different teachers that move around the district or come in and teach partial days. So that's where those 0.4s, 0.2s, 0.6s come in. The asterisk next to the special education for MSP is some of those are special education reading teachers who teach reading specifically for our special education students. Next slide. Again, when you look at class averages across the middle school, pretty similar with the past. So this is this year, what our class sizes look like. English is a little lower because we moved from having a model of teaching writing and reading with our ELA teachers to just teaching reading and writing in the same block of time. So we actually have less teachers than we did back then, but we still have more. We have 3 teachers for English per 6th grade team and per 7th grade team, where every other content is 2 teachers per team. So that gives you the little lower number in English. And if you go to the next slide. These are our specials that we teach, those unified arts courses in middle school. And on the right-hand column are those numbers for average class size. Again, very manageable. They move to a lot of different courses throughout the year. They have what's called the wheel, where kids rotate between all these different options. Gives them a good exposure to all different things that they're going to see in high school and hopefully find something that they like that they can pursue. That language class, we know what happened last year, so that 9 is the French. We did not offer Italian. This year we have the 9 in the French with our high school teacher moving to the middle school to teach that class. And then our Spanish classes, we have a couple class, 2 teachers teaching Spanish classes with about 14 and a half kids per class on average. So high school class sizes, again, pretty typical, and about where we've had them in the past, the upper teens. In some areas, you'll get up into the 20s. Now, this is obviously in high school, it's a little, the averages are averages. You have a range of electives, of core courses, of grade levels. So you're going to have, some classes where it dips lower, especially our EP classes. We might run them with less students. And then we might have some core classes that have mid-20s for students. So there's definitely a range, but that gives you an idea of where averages are across the board. And obviously, we don't have that many students, so you're looking at kids that are taking multiple classes in a content area. Next. This last one was kind of what I alluded to in the beginning of the presentation, where we have movement constantly in district. So when you think of the end of the school year last year, so starting with summertime and just up to December 1st, that's how many processed enrollments withdrawals there were through Sue McGuff's office, 378. So we had 258 student enrollments, and we had 120 students withdraw within that time. So a net gain of 138 students. So there's a lot of movement from summer to right now. I mean, we're constantly having students moving in and out. So it just gives you an idea that it is a moving target. We're always looking at these numbers to make our best estimates. So right up until April and May, we're meeting with principals and giving them new numbers and talking about what the fluctuations have looked like and what's our best guess for class sizes and how many teachers we'll need to maintain the class sizes that we've been able to maintain, but to do the best instructionally for our students. And there's just a couple slides. I won't go through the last slides. They did go through like 9th grade courses, 10th grade courses, kind of what the enrollment is for those courses on average in the high school. Pretty typical to what you saw on the previous slide, but that's just for your information. But that concludes my presentation. We can definitely take any questions that you have. But again, remember that these are best estimates for next year based on what we have right now.
Madam Chair, if I may, just a couple quick questions, Mr. Lewandowski.
Sure.
For the slide that talked about the projected choice enrollment.
Yes.
For my understanding, being new to this, and as well as those listening and viewing, the choice enrollment are, if I'm understanding this correctly, are those individuals coming in from another district like Hartford or the correct magnets, and they've been chosen to come here?
These are students from Hartford, specifically all Hartford students that have gone into a lottery and have chosen Plainville as a school district that they want to attend based on our numbers that we send to CREC, saying we have 3 openings in 1st grade, 2 openings in 2nd grade. So parents have options of choosing different districts that are part of the open choice program. So we're in the same region as Berlin, Southington, and I forget what other towns, but there's a couple other towns.
Now, do we have a required minimum?
No.
Okay. Based on that explanation, thank you very much for it.
Sure.
Once a student is picked into the lottery system, are they allowed to continue throughout the high school, or they to graduate, or are they required to do this lottery every year?
No, they can stay with us and graduate with us if they maintain their status of an open choice student in Hartford.
Okay. And one other quick question, if I may. It has to do with the enrollment versus the withdrawal, that slide previously. Now, what's the reasoning behind the withdrawal numbers? I'm just trying to understand so basically they're saying of these 258 that enrolled throughout the summer, 120 of them withdrew, or is it a combination of?
No, yeah, different. It's not the same kids.
It's not, okay, that's what I'm trying to understand.
Yeah,
okay.
Some may be kids that entered and then withdrew for some reason, but no, it's just, in general, we have 258 students enrolled from this time period of the beginning of the summer until now. And we've had 120 students withdraw during that same time frame.
Now, does that include the choice enrollment as well, that number?
It only includes them if they came in during that time, or if for some reason they withdrew from us during that time.
Okay, so that they can be part of this 258.
Right, but the ones so any open choice student, like when you see those numbers moving forward,
right,
if they haven't moved, if they're still part of the open choice program, they haven't withdrawn or enrolled. They don't have to enroll again. They're registered with us. There are
Right.
students, they don't do it again, so they're not included in this. It's the
Okay.
new students that we've had open seats for that come in.
Got it. Okay. Thank you very much for that.
Sure.
time. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, a couple of questions. On the 120 students that did withdraw, do we know of those which moved and which elected to either go to a magnet school or a Cracker or one of the others?
So, yes, we can get that information, and I'd have to ask Sue McGuff if those 120 include some of the ones with magnet, that went to magnet schools, because some of those are withdrawing. I would assume that is part of it, because some of those they're withdrawing, they would stay until the end of the school year of, let's say, 8th grade, and then they would be withdrawing and enrolling in that high school, so they'd definitely be part of that number. And then the others are, like you said, they've moved just out of district. We have a lot of movement of students just moving their homes, moving into a different town. Yep.
The other question I have is, when we did renovate Wheeler School, we had to accommodate the size of the building, had to be 300 and some odd students. We have 260 there now. Would it be possible to boost that enrollment by because we're about 10 short and overall choice students?
Yes, that's possible.
Would it be our aim to do that?
Yeah, I'd have to look at their capacity and the grade levels, but yes, what we try to do is look at each school and their capacity. So yes, Wheeler has more capacity than, say, a Linden for elementary school, that we would look at more choice student seats open in that school as compared to Linden.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else?
Madam Chair, can you speak to the budgetary impact on losing the choice students and how that plays out when a student may withdraw mid-year, whether or not those dollars are retained for the entire year, and what that kind of boils down to, please?
It's a great question for Sam.
It does have a significant financial impact. We get a base amount of, they just increased, you might have to help me, Brian, do you recall the increased amount? It was $8,000 per student,
right.
and now it's more than that. And in addition, there's an early childhood grant, which is another, was $4,500, now I think it's $6,000 per student for children in the early elementary grades, and then there's additional incentives on top of that. So it does affect us. You know, we rely on that choice money. It's not the reason we do the program, of course, but we do rely on the money.
And to that point, we had talked about some of the implications of that in the Renovate Like New project as well, where some of those factors were taken into consideration for reimbursements, I believe, based off of the projected number of students that were coming in and
Right.
what that reimbursement rate would look like. Do we know what the implications of the low numbers and what that impact will be?
It doesn't, this is short-term fluctuation, and so there's a stake in the ground when the project is turned over. When this board turns over the middle school project, that's the time when they will look at the number of choice students we have, and that's years into the future.
So, but to that said, though, we would want to make sure that we had the highest number of students enrolled, which is kind of what I'm getting at, to ensure that we get the maximum benefit from that.
Yeah, and I think the threshold was 4% we've always been around 5% of open choice students in our district. And I think the max, that 8,000 was 4% was where you needed to be to get the max.
Right.
And then you'd go lower, you'd lose some of that money, and we've always been at around 5%. The number right now we have currently, I think it's 4.8%. So we are staying above that, and we keep that in mind as we're looking at how many seats can we fill. And we're looking to make it, obviously, we've had some advertising and marketing that we've done with the Choice program to market our program as something that we want our Hartford residents to choose.
And just one last thing, I'll tell you, growing up in town and having, going through the district as a kid and having some of those students who are still some of my best friends now, 30 plus years later, it's we're pretty fortunate that we have the program, and I would strongly encourage we continue to do whatever we can to ensure that we have those students coming in. I think it also enriches our community in many different ways. So thank you.
Yep.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
Madam Chair? Thank you. Mr. Lewandowski, you mentioned that this was a study that we paid for. So this is a different study than what we did, that the town council had sought? This is something new and different?
No, this is the town study.
This is the same
Yes.
study that we got from
Yep.
the enrollment. So did we pay for this as the Board of Education?
I don't know. I think the town paid for it.
Okay, all right.
So I must have missed.
No, that's
I
okay.
think
I just
misspoke.
wanted to make sure I wasn't looking at different information.
No.
And then, in the future, would it be possible, when we've been presented, and I understand it's a moving target, maybe year-over-year numbers, just to be able to compare what we're seeing to the last 3 to 5 years, or whatever you find to be relevant? I know COVID kind of changed the statistical probability of things, but I'd still like to see a year-over-year for at least 3 years if possible. And then, let's see, reasons. And then also, pardon me, the root causes. So moving, I'd be really curious to know where removal for homeschool comes into play.
I do have
just to
that
see those
data
root
too.
causes. Thank you.
Because I think Foster asked last year. So we have 30 students, 30 families currently homeschooling right now. That was about the same as we had last year at this time. But that's a good data point. And that I'll give everyone that year-to-date data. We used to have that on a slide that just showed what our actual enrollment was year over year. This one, because we just got this, it doesn't have it. This is all new information, so I will definitely share that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Great. Any other questions? All right. I would just like to say Plainville was a real, one of the first districts that participated in choice as significantly as we did. When back in the day when I think it was $2,000 a student or $1,000 a student or something, it was ridiculous, the amount of money. So it was not a financial consideration. I mean, there is definitely an impact now, and, that's great. But we've always, been a district that participates and knows that value of definitely having students in, so. So that's that. No further questions. We're going to move on to our board subcommittee reports, Facilities and Finance. Mr. White.
Yes, the Facilities and Finance Committee did meet on December 5th. We had 5 items on our agenda. We started with a review, as the superintendent reported earlier, on our building and really our pools, our gyms, our fields use, both by the school and also by outside groups, both partners and other organizations that use it. The long and the short of that meeting was that there's a significant request and need for using our facilities, which are quite limited. The extensive use that they do get does really press very hard on the needs of our maintenance staffs and all of that. And so that this, as the superintendent clearly pointed out, this is a work in progress. This is really a close collaboration between our athletic director and our facilities managers. And so that this is something I think is a work in progress and will be reported on as it progresses. We also spent a significant amount of time reviewing the individual items on our capital budget proposals for the next year, and spent a significant amount of time to look at both what is going into buildings and maintenance, and also into our technology needs, and keeping those things after a significant and I think well done discussion. We did have a consensus, a positive consensus, that the board tonight as an agenda item under our new business, we should be moving forward on the capital request of $976,200 and moving that forward on the approval process as we continue in with our budgets. We also discussed in great detail at least the planning parts of it for our operating budget for the next fiscal year. And that, the basic highlight was looking at our contractual obligations. This includes what we are needing for salaries for our professional staff and for our entire staff that works with, including our administrators and our maintenance people and part-time folks, that and other fixed expenses that are really stipulated by contractual obligation, that was going to by itself lead to a 4.39% increase over current year's expenses. So this is going to have to be worked on as we continue. This, as I think we pointed out in the past, that the budget process within Plainville Community Schools is almost a year-long process. And we're well along into that now, involving all of our administrators. The administrative budgets have been presented and are worked on. The one known factor for dates right now, a lot depends on what happens with the town. Also would be somewhat dependent on what we have to do with a referendum. But the one fact is that April 23rd will be the all-day vote budget for the budget at the firehouse in Plainville. The middle school update, we did have a joint meeting with the council, and that has progressed very well. The council is now in deliberation as to establishing a referendum date. As the superintendent reported, that is probably going to be either in the end of February or early March. And any questions anyone has, I'll try to address them. I brought reams of paper tonight.
All right.
That's my report.
Thank you. Policy Subcommittee, Ms. St. Lawrence?
No report.
Okay. We do have policies though, right? For our second reading? Okay, thank you. And Curriculum Subcommittee, Ms. Martinez?
Yes, Curriculum Subcommittee met on November 30th. We discussed some exciting new course proposals for the high school. The Fine Arts Department is proposing to add integrated arts class. There was a proposal for popular music and diversity in American society, a media and American cultures course. The English and History Department proposing an American writing and discourse interdisciplinary seminar. The English Department proposing to replace English 11 course with English 11 digital media literacy. The English Department was asked to propose application of reading strategies, foundations of math course, a career math, a hero course, and American Sign Language course. I know those were distributed to the board members. There was also some discussion on the right to read. And I know at the time of the meeting, the superintendent was optimistic and was hoping to hear if the grant was approved shortly thereafter.
So actually, and I should have included that, we did receive that we have a partial approval of the reading waiver. Which means we're still working through exactly what that means, but it means likely we will have to augment our current program with some of the state-approved systems. And fortunately, because it's only partial, because it's only part of our program that we need to augment, we're hoping that augmentation aligns with the $90,000 grant that we have for the right to read. So in the big picture, it was, I think, somewhat successful. There were a number of districts, there were a few that were able to get a complete pass on the waiver, and there were quite a few that didn't pass at all. So we were right in the middle, and so we're pretty confident that we're hoping our grant covers all the expenditures we need. So we just received that last week.
All right. Are you done? Oh, we went from there to there. We jumped out of order a little bit. Outreach Subcommittee, we don't have a report. PAC Liaison for Plainville High School, Mr. White.
Yes, the last, excuse me, the last PAC meeting was on November 8th. That was just before our last month's board meeting. The next board meeting will be on January 10th, 2024 of the high school PHS PAC.
And Toflon PTO, Ms. Martinez.
There's not a current report. I did speak with the secretary, and they are trying to work out a January date, so I will keep you guys posted.
Okay. I know we have Lyndon, and Ms. Clark is not with us this evening. Did she share anything with anybody? Okay. Brings us to the middle school. Ms. St. Mark's.
Is it this?
Oh, maybe that's it.
I don't know. So the MSP, I just feel like I echo. The MSP PTC met on Tuesday, November 14th. Let's see, they had a successful Halloween dance, a great turnout, and they raised some money for CCMC. Let's see. They had a great paint night. I think they painted some cool gnomes. Big thank you to Miss Meehan for helping with that. They had a successful fundraiser for Spiritware and another successful Texas Roadhouse roll sale right before Thanksgiving. There's a lot of discussion. It's at that time of year to start thinking about the 8th grade end of the year events. So there was a lot of talking about the dance that they typically do and a lot of other fun activities for 8th grade. I'm sure they'll be talking about it again soon. And I think that's it. They meet again tomorrow night at 7 p.m.
December meetings, those are diehards there. And our last PTO, Wheeler, Ms. Buchanan.
Thank you. The Wheeler PTO had a successful pie sale. They want to thank everyone that took the time to purchase pies and to help with all the sorting. It was a successful fundraiser. On December 2nd, Wheeler students went to a Wolfpack game, and on the 6th and the 7th, they had their little shoppers. So that's always fun. We know that's a great time of year for our elementary school students. There is not a PTO meeting in December for Wheeler. The next meeting will be January 18th. I believe that's a Thursday. PTO meeting in the school library. And the PTO is looking for volunteers. There's a lot of work that goes into the work that they do. So Wheeler parents, if you're watching and listening, they're looking for volunteers, and also seniors in our community that might be looking for a way to engage with our Plainville community schools. I can tell you the president is Justine Thibodeau at Wheeler School, and you can reach out to them.
Thank you. Correct Council does not meet in December, unlike the diehards at the middle school of Plainville. So I don't have a report for that. Chairperson's report, I just, wanted to say that we started this meeting with kind of like a private concert of our own, right? I was watching these 17 young folks, and that was really awesome. I kept thinking, like, it's not too bad there aren't more people here, because it was so awesome. But it is one of the things that reminds me about how fortunate we are in this community in many, many reasons, right? And in our school system, and to live here in a community that has such a strong school district, and that frequently punches above its weight in a lot of areas based on our size and based on some of our resources. But it is just because it is such a community place. So with that, I wanted to make sure that we wish everyone involved in the community, in the schools, a wonderful holiday. Take time off. Take some rest. But especially, I want to wish that for the board members here who, Board of Education members don't always get appreciated, and it's hard work, it's extra hours, it's above all of our things that we have to do to keep our lives, in check. And it's definitely, I know I appreciate each one of you, and I know there are a lot of people that appreciate what we do as well. So I just wanted to wish you all a happy holiday. And with that, we'll go to unfinished business, where there is a whole big load full of policies, I believe. So would we like to make a motion as a group? It looks like A through F.
Madam
Not as big as loads, I thought.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve mentioned policies, items A through F.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or?
I've got a couple questions.
Yep.
We had some conversation, I believe it wasn't the last meeting, but the previous meeting beforehand, where we talked about the changes in legislation for the 5-year-olds in the school system. So reading through the policy, it kind of just verbatim what the state requirements are, but what it doesn't identify is kind of that cohort of students that are kind of in limbo. I believe, Mr. Lewandowski, you said there's about 25 or 30 students that has an impact, and there was some flexibility from the state to make some accommodations for those students. Have we as a district identified what that process is going to look like?
If it's okay to respond. So we are in the process of working on that. So I think the policy answer is that this policy includes the same flexibility as the state, as I think you pointed out. So we have the flexibility in order to work through that initial year of the change of enrollment year. We are hoping to have something out to parents in January about what that might look like. We're obviously looking to be somewhat flexible because we don't want to put parents in a difficult spot. For us, it is a matter of, it's actually more of an issue at the pre-K level, because if we allow, if we keep our students and say, let's keep them in their 4-year-old pre-K, we end up with 25% more students in pre-K, as opposed to many districts who do not have pre-K. Their issue is that they could end up with 25% less students in their kindergarten classes. So ours kind of bounces down, and our thinking is we'll be communicating with families and work through that with them and work through the process. The state would really like us to have everybody be, by September 1st, to be 5 years old in kindergarten. However, they've built in the flexibility. So, and the flexibility is from the state directly is really at the school level, which of course we're trying to do as a district. So that's, the hope is that we are working with families to either continue on in pre-K or to move forward. So, but I think most districts are taking a very flexible approach because it does put parents in a very difficult spot. And the state, left some flexibility, which is both good and very difficult to deal with. So I hope that helps. Essentially, we've been talking about it on a regular basis, and January is our goal to get it out to parents. So the actual plan. So, if you've read the newspaper, we're not alone in that process.
Yeah, quite well aware. So the other aspect of that, though, too, is making sure we have the projected enrollments, which we had talked to earlier, and then when we start doing the enrollment process, which usually starts around that time for the following year for the pre-K and kindergarten, correct?
Yes.
So a lot of so the only challenge with that, though, is there's a very short, narrow window, and a lot of fluctuation can happen based on staffing needs as well as class sizes.
So we believe the staffing needs should be very similar to what we have. It's just a matter of where they are, whether or not it's an extra class of pre-K or an extra class or at the same level of classes at kindergarten. Essentially, because we have both, ours are just about moving one class to the other level. So it's more complicated when you don't have pre-K, in my opinion. So I believe actually it should be pretty smooth. So, but we have been looking at that. Our curriculum director is very concerned about making sure this goes correctly. Mr. Lewandowski has been working on it as well, so.
The only thing I'll add to that is the state did give us flexibility on certification too, in case we had to move someone from kindergarten to pre-K or pre-K up. So that is another thing we have going for us, is we can shift certification for this because they knew it would be an issue for all districts.
Any other questions?
Madam Chair, if I may, this has to do with Mr. Lewandowski, a question regarding the A, request approval of personnel increasing educator diversity plan policy, revised second reading. And again, it could be just me not understanding, so I apologize. But on page 2, it talks about, in accordance with sections, et cetera, the Plainville Board of Education, the board has developed the following written plan for increasing educator diversity. Talks about recruiting sources of number 1. Then it talks about each board employee involved in hiring educators. Now, I'm a little confused with this because from what I understand, 1, I'm not an employee, I'm an elected official. So I'm a little confused how I would be in part of the hiring process, except for the superintendent. I'm not part of that. So I'm just trying to understand the clarification based on what was in that paragraph above and then what's going on here. I just don't quite understand it. So if I could get some clarification, please.
Sure, I'd have to get to the page, but.
It's page 2.
I'm still in course proposals here.
Sorry.
But if it says board
It says,
employees.
yeah, the Plainville Board of Education, in parentheses, the board, has developed the following written plan for
Yep.
increasing educator diversity. So to me, that's a bit confusing, because as I said, I'm an elected official, I'm not an employee, and my requirement is to hire the superintendent as far as, and it's the superintendent's responsibility to hire everybody else.
Exactly. Yeah, so from what I read from that is the superintendent is representing the board, and that is created in district, that plan, and approved by the board.
I'm confused by that, I'm sorry.
So
I mean, when did,
there's legislation to create this hiring and diversity plan.
okay,
That needs to be approved by the board. Then there's
Okay.
training that all board employees, so all staff who are on hiring committees, need to go through. And I don't know if that's what it's alluding to, but that's part of legislation as well.
can we get some clarification on that, please? I just want to make sure I understand my role in this position.
Sure.
To me, it's just very confusing.
In some cases, the term Board of Education is used synonymously with the school district, and I believe that's what's happening here.
Yes.
We see that in a number of contracts. It's very frequent, and when they say Board of Ed, they're not referring to this Board of Ed, they're referring to the school district.
Right.
Yeah.
And
so-
because the board is so involved in the policy, you're going to see us show up in policy that way a lot.
I just want to make sure I don't have extra work that I didn't sign up for. That's all I
Believe me,
want to make sure of.
We wouldn't be hiring anybody but the superintendent.
Well, that's why I'm questioning it, because if you read this document that you want approval on, that's not what it's saying, and that's why I'm questioning it.
No, Sam's exactly right, because I'm reading it now. This is the job of us working for the board.
Okay.
True.
Madam Chair, I have a question, please, for Mr. Lewandowski. Sure. I know that we had talked about, it's on the same particular policy.
Sure.
I guess it's been a while since that last meeting where we discussed this. I know that this is state legislation coming down the pike. I guess my question is, What's different about this than what we have already been doing? Because I know that the goal of the district is to have representation and for our teaching staff, if possible, to resemble our community. I also understand that it's difficult to hire teachers right now, and I wanted to just understand and for the public to understand what's different about this policy and our existing hiring practices.
So basically, you know, the intent of this, and I'll just go intent of the legislation first. The intent is with districts, I mean, you're always looking to hire the best that you can, but it's also looking at your student body and making sure that you have staff that represents all our students that we serve. So when we're looking at who we're hiring, we just want to make sure that we're hiring a diverse workforce that represents the students that we serve as a district. So in that, it's just working with our staff to train them to understand as, you know, as a hiring entity, what are we looking to do when we hire? Why are we hiring the individuals we hire? What values do we seek? How do we best meet the needs of the students that we have in our district? That's the intent. So we're still hiring the best individuals that we can, but we're looking through a lens of, you know, are we making our best efforts to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our students in everyone that we hire?
So is that different than something that we do now?
Well, part of the difference is just training for all of our staff. You know, we have a lot of teachers and staff on hiring committees. So one of the things that legislation calls for is training all of our staff. So yeah, it is making a plan, making sure that, you know, everyone understands what we're trying to do in the hiring process, that the hiring process is coherent across the district, that we're doing similar things across the district in how we're hiring, the questions we're asking, those types of things.
Is this something that it, and you don't have to answer me now, just
Sure.
Would it be appropriate for Board of Education members to be privy to this training just for our understanding and knowledge to support this moving along, something we could do on our own time?
Yeah, it's a state training, so absolutely.
Okay, very good, thank you.
So, to your point here about the training expectations, are we not doing implicit bias training already as a district with staff?
Yeah, we have done some bias training and we've done some courageous conversations. We've done some of that training, but in regards to hiring process, no, not specifically to the hiring process.
And are we ensuring that those different types of training opportunities are happening district-wide for all employees or just certain employees?
No, all employees, because our pool of employees that are actively on committees changes, and different teachers are put on committees, different staff members, so we want all staff members to get it.
Any other questions related to policies? All right. So we have a motion and we have a second. So I'm going to call the question. All in favor of the policies A through F, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have Roberta, or you can abstain.
No, I'm fine.
Okay, you good? All right. No opposed? All right, thank you. And that brings us on to new business, which first we start out with our board open forum. Is there anybody that has something they would like to put out there for the good of the order?
Yes, Madam Chairman. Tonight, we did have the privilege of and the pleasure of listening to just one of the small aspects of the arts within Plainville Community Schools and the Plainville High School. But as Mr. Hellman did note, the choir will be performing in concert at 7 p.m. on December 20th. The band will also be in the auditorium the following night on the 21st. And I had the pleasure yesterday of attending one of Mr. Ricardo's theater production 2 acts plays right in this room. And they will be doing that same thing again this Friday, December 15th at 7 o'clock. For $5, you cannot beat it. There are 2 comedies. The one aspect that Mr. Ricardo points out in his program is that everything that the aspects that we have for our portrait of a graduate, each one of those aspects of collaborativeness, of communicating, is all incorporated with the presentation of any stage production. I know this well, I've done it for more years than I'll ever admit publicly. But these are some really good, one of the best things in the second show is that many of the performers are performing different characters within the same production and requiring them to, and so I would recommend this as just, I think, one of the excellent things that really supports our entire goal of incorporating the project, the portrait of a graduate.
Anybody else?
Madam Chair, I just wanted to say thank you to Mr. Helming and the choir for the beautiful performance they had tonight. And I hope I don't get myself in trouble for requesting this, but I know they were here a few months ago, in which I believe they, after the Pledge of Allegiance, sang America the Beautiful. I think it might be nice to include them for maybe one song, since they're here rehearsing anyway. I think it would be nice to add to something, to our agenda as part of the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Madam Chair?
Yep.
Thank you. Congratulations to our PCS All-Star, Mrs. Wasley, and her contribution to the high school community. I've had some lovely conversations with her, and the beauty of what she does is that in the conversations is the work. So I'm grateful for that, so congratulations to her. I also just want to say thank you to the admin staff for our last facilities and finance meeting. It was important, the folks who elected us to make sure that we were properly educated on what we were voted for. So thank you for taking the time and allowing us to do our due diligence in real time to be able to make an informed decision. So thank you. I wanted to also just comment on something that Jared had said regarding the open choice program and the importance of it. I think anyone who went through the Plainville school system does have friends who came from Hartford that are lifelong, and you don't think of them as friends from Hartford. They are Blue Devil friends. One of the things that I was thinking about while we were having this conversation was, I was recalling, and I can't remember exactly when it was, I believe it was last year, when Superintendent LePage was going to a breakfast with our open choice students. And I remember following up and asking how that breakfast went. I was very curious. And I hope this is okay to share. He shared that there was some feedback from the students that was very honest, but yet difficult to hear, in that they did not feel all the way included in our Blue Devil community. So just something that I'm connecting the dots here too, and just a question. I would love to know what has transpired since that breakfast to ensure, you know, what steps are we taking to ensure that these students do feel included, and what we can do as a board to ensure that moving forward. Because this isn't just, like you said, this isn't just for financial gain, this is real inclusion, and I want to make sure it's solid. And then last but not least, the outreach committee, I've been here for 2 years and we've never had a report for it. It's something that when we had our strategic planning and the superintendent, when he presented the plan, that this was something that we were going to try to get more involved with. I think that this is a perfect time, perfect opportunity. We're asking a lot of our taxpayers right now in community budget, referendum. I would really, really love to do whatever work is needed to get this outreach committee off the ground so we can have a report. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Reese. You're doing a great job so far. You've just fit right in and are holding it down. So thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes, I just wanted to congratulate Emily Wasley. Her passion for teaching is just so evident every time you speak to her, and I'm glad to see that she did get that award tonight. I also just want to say congratulations to some of our sports. Our U14 soccer was just honored at the town council meeting for winning the championships. U13 Plainville Colts was the Northern Pop Warner champions as well. And, you know, I second what everybody was saying about having the chorus here. They were absolutely beautiful, and that was a great way to start the meeting. And just want to wish everybody a great holiday.
Anybody else?
Dave, Mr. Lewandowski and I had the pleasure of going to Linden right before here. Some of us were dressed a little differently, as elves, helping out with the Plainville Family Resource Network, which is really kind of an unknown and undersung program here in our community. So the cafeteria at Linden was packed, and I would say there was tons and tons of little children all over the place with their families, and they do a really great job of nurturing families and lifelong learners and providing a gateway to the school community here. And so PFRN is doing tremendous work day in and day out, and it was evident in today's holiday fest that they had, which was booming with kids all over the place.
Absolutely. Anyone else?
So, yeah, I don't know
what's going on over there.
Let's see your personality.
So I just want to thank Mr. Helming and the Chamber Choir also, and he mentioned that they were in Florida. The band also went to Florida too. You mentioned athletics, and we saw a lot of social media posts too of our band. I went 4 years ago and it was so fun, but watching our band, you know, march down Main Street with the castle right there, it's a great experience, and they represented our Plainville community schools really well, and they did a great job. Big thanks to Mr. Talata and all the chaperones that make that possible. And that's it.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right. Thank you all. And that brings us to, we do not have B, we do not have C. We have D, request approval of the proposed capital budget plan for 24-25. Do I hear a motion?
Madam Chair, I request that we do approve for forward movement of the proposed capital budget plan for 2024-25 of the amount of $976,200.
Okay. Motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
All right. Did you have any information that you wanted to share before we see if anybody has questions or anything, or does everybody? No? Sammy, you wanted to say? No. Sure.
Brian, do you want me to say a few things?
I think so, and I think we could forward the presentation to the fifth slide.
No, he just has the two of them that are in the handout.
Okay.
So.
Oh, he's already there. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. So what you're approving is a little different than your normal approvals. A lot of times when you approve something, it just means there's going to be immediate action or something's put immediately into place. Capital's different. When you approve capital, it means that we're moving it on in the process. So nothing really happens other than the plan gets moved to the town manager, who then incorporates it with town capital items, and it gets furthered into the budget process. A little different than what we're used to. And you see that on this front side of this page. It's also on the screen, the stages of our capital process, where it starts with initial proposal, goes to a superintendent's proposal, and then tonight would be converting it to a Board of Education proposal. In January, the town manager will make a recommendation to the town council. The town council then includes it in its approval in mid-March, and then finally it goes to referendum. So it's not an approval of something going into place, it's an approval of furthering it into the process. The other thing on this slide is you can just see how it played out in the past 2 years, what has been initially proposed, and then ultimately approved. And you can see what gets ultimately approved is significantly less than where it starts. So pretty much every year. Do want to mention a couple things, the initial proposal that you won't see in what we're about to talk about. In the initial proposal, it included a field house that the athletic director made a very good case for including, yet we decided not to exclude it, but to put it into a later year. So it's in the proposal, but just not in the next year part of the proposal. A couple other items were in the initial proposal that relate to STEAM, and we believe that that's better placed in the operating budget rather than the capital budget. So we didn't eliminate it, but you will see it later in our budget process. Flipping the page over, and Kevin, next slide. There's a little red arrow pointing to $976,200. That's what we're asking you to approve to move on to the town manager. The details are in yellow, and I would just like to step through them quickly if that's okay. And actually, just to orient you to this slide as well, there are 4 more columns after the yellow column. It's a 5-year capital plan. We focus mostly on the year that would ultimately be approved at referendum, yet we do want no surprises. So we do include what we know of that will likely be needing replacement over the next 4 years or soon after that. So just stepping through the numbers in the yellow column, district security improvements is mostly cameras, and it's been delayed and postponed. And so there's a need for cameras, especially in the back area of the high school and other areas of the high school. Some cameras have been damaged, and so there's cameras as well as other miscellaneous security improvements included in that line. Skipping down to the walk-in fridge, we had quite a bit of discussion about that at the Finance and Facilities meeting related to why wasn't that replaced during the high school project, and it was excluded during the course of the high school project, so it's at its end of its useful life. They're having problems with it, and so that's on the list now as needing a replacement in next fiscal year. And then skipping down to the next, the next number in the yellow column, student Chromebooks. From student Chromebooks down to tech labs is all part of the technology rotational plan. And each year, Kevin does a great job of rotating the computer needs for the district year in, year out. And he detailed that for the committee. But you can see it's pretty much what we do each year with some small differences. And all of this equipment is anything that's part of the replacement plan is at the end of its useful life. And if it does have additional useful life in it, Kevin's great at recycling it, using it in other areas of the network. And so nothing goes to waste. Skipping down to the upgrade of the radio system. This isn't radios itself, it's the system. It's been on the capital plan for a number of years. It's again, one of the things that's obsolete and requiring replacement. And so we proposed it last year, and we're proposing it again this year. Next item is LED lights for the fields. Mike Smith, our facilities director, is working with a consultant who's working with Eversource. And if this moves forward, it'll be because there's a good payback, because within a short period of time, we believe 3 or 4 years, the savings in the energy bill would pay for the lights themselves under this program. And it's still in process, but that's what we're looking at. We believe that that's the way it's going to be proposed, and so given that, we believe it's a wise investment. It also will help with light pollution. A lot of the neighbors, when you drive around town, you can tell if there's something going on in the field because you see like the bat signal, and the new lights won't be, the new lights will be pointed down and targeted, and so you wouldn't see excess light. I think the neighbors would really appreciate it. The stage floor, the back half of the stage floor is original, and has been an issue for a number of years, and we believe it's becoming a safety issue and in dire need of replacement. So it's on the list of proposed items. The pool heater, there's a couple of lines for the pool. The pool heater and a few down, continued repair and upkeep of the pool. As we've done some repairs using ESSER money, we've discovered additional repairs that are needed. We replaced some valves, and the folks who came and replaced the valves gave us a list of all the additional items that need to be replaced. And the pool's suffering from just the age, and a lot of the mechanicals of that pool are coming to the end of its useful life. And so, our maintainer is very good at, we wouldn't put this on here if we didn't feel like it was something that, will it fail tomorrow? Maybe, so he puts things on this list, and we put things on this list when we believe it's time. And so you see the replacement of the pool heater, but also continued repair and upkeep of the pool, $20,000 a year. We believe that over time we can work to replace those mechanicals, those aging mechanicals, and bring the pool to where it needs to be. A couple more items. Rooftop unit in the tech ed area is at the end of its useful life, and that again is at risk of failure. So that's on here for $40,000. And then the last item I didn't talk about is cracks in the tennis courts. The tennis courts have long, I want to say horizontal, is that right? Cracks going along the length of the court, making it very difficult for to use it in the way we intend for our tennis team and the use of the courts. And so this would be to repair those cracks. It's been, similar work has been done in the past and been on this plan, but again, because of the age of those courts, we do have to ask for capital money to bring the courts up to playable condition every few years. And if you total that column, it totals $976,200, which is your proposed motion. Below that $976,200 is just a breakdown between facilities, security, technology. I will tell you, again, this is one step in the process. In the past, we've been pretty successful at the town funding our technology plan. They understand it's a rotational plan. They understand that it's how we do business. Less so with facilities. Facilities is harder to make the case, but this is one step in the process. The jury will be out, and next step would be to get into even further detail with the town manager and hopefully bring the necessary items on this list to the voters as part of the budget plan. Questions?
Any questions for Sam or?
I have a question. Just the PHS, the LED lighting for the fields. I know the fields and things have been a discussion, and I know everything's still being considered, but with that savings, would that be considered as far as rental fees and things like that, or any fees that are being looked at in the future?
We haven't discussed in terms of fees, and most of the facility use discussion really hasn't been around fees. Just like this, the way our LED, or the way our current field lighting works is there's a breaker, and there's no other way to turn the lights on other than this breaker that's in a closet with other equipment. It's really not the way it should be. And when this project is done, should it be completed, it will upgrade the control system for the lights so that it can be controlled remotely, and it will help us with not having lights left on and with being able to control lights better regardless of who's using the facilities.
Any other questions? All right, all in favor of this capital budget moving forward, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, thank you all very much. And that brings us on to our new course proposals. And we can do this one at a time, if someone wants to start making a motion, or we can do them as a group. Depends on how much discussion we want to have.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion that we accept the course proposals, which would be the 10 items E through N.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right. Dave, were you going to talk at all? Do you have an intention, or would just go into questions and see what people? Okay. Questions on any of the proposals on this list?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Clarification, please, on one of these, it talked about the HERO course.
The new course proposal requests approval of HERO course for Plainville High School.
Which
Health
number is that
and
now on
Physical
here?
education.
Oh, and letter M.
M, yep.
I know, now I guess this, from what I read, this was specifically for lifeguard. How is this different than what used to be handled and run by Colin Reagan in terms of lifeguard training? I mean, he did that for decades. I'd rather not say how long, because it'll say how long I've been here. But I'm just a bit confused why we're having to make this like some form of a credit. And does that interfere with the Park and Rec department? Or I'm just a bit confused with this, why we need to make it part of the
Sure.
system.
Yeah, so we didn't have a course like this one that will teach students not only lifeguarding, CPR, first aid, get them exposed to fire and police testing, EMTs. We're trying to get a course that can give students all experiences of what a career would be like in, we call it a heroes course, but an industry where it's, you know, a help profession, but get certifications that they can use in jobs. So they can leave this course ready to go work as a lifeguard. We don't currently have a lifeguarding course.
No,
where kids
we
get
never,
certified.
I mean, from what I know, we never did. That was, as I said, run through the Parks Department. I remember, years ago, someone from the fire department used to come to get us certified in CPR. That was also part of the system. Are we no longer utilizing outside resources like the fire department, the police department, the Park and Rec department for things like this, to the point where we now need to have a special accredited course for it? I'm just...
Correct. Yeah. The only other area that we've had students certified in anything like, it wasn't lifeguarding, but it was CPR and first aid. They actually did it through adult ed, and we paid for their seats. So this would be an opportunity for students to get free access and get certified so they can get a job through us without having to worry about outside sources. Now, those outside sources are still available for students if it's running. I haven't heard any classes running for students. We've gotten no information about it.
Has anyone inquired?
Not to my knowledge, I don't know.
I think this is a little bit of a different thing. This is kind of on a career path, tracked, and sort of giving kids that might be interested in any of those kinds of, careers going down the road to kind of, give them some exposure to it and see how they feel about it. So I think that's kind of more the thought there. As far as, I don't know if, I know Park and Rec used to do lifeguard, they may still, but I don't know if they do either. But I think the thought was, it's part of the package of did you say help careers, Dave? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I
Help
said
careers, okay.
Yeah.
So, why not let them have that certification as well as getting, the exposure to the different kinds of roles that they might fill in that career path.
Well, I guess my question based on that is, who will teach it and how will it be taught? If you're saying that we're not inquiring to other areas, that, because that's part of what, some of these classes are doing, is trying to, we talked about diversity, bringing other things in. Why are we not reaching out to these other areas to find out what they can bring to us and expand on it? Because if we're going to offer the class, well, that means we've got to pay somebody. But, so do we have a plan in place for all this?
Yeah, we're not paying any, our teachers are certified to teach this course. Our physical education and health teachers are the ones that would be teaching this course who are certified. And that allows us to keep it in-house for kids to eliminate any barriers where kids would have to go outside of the school day or outside on their own to get certified. So this is a way to do it within a student's schedule for no cost. And we can also bring in, the thought is, because we talked about police testing and fire testing, where we can bring in volunteers who can come in from the police department or fire department to help out with these courses.
Madam Chair. So I think this this course really is a dovetail. It speaks to the district's initiative to recognize that not all students are going to go off to college once they leave the school system. It provides different pathways and career opportunities that folks can access gainful employment with strong skill sets here here in the district before they go off to be EMT firefighters and things like that. So I laud this effort. I think it's a great idea to ensure that we are being more inclusive when it comes to career pathways for our students. I think the district has done a phenomenal job doing that. I was fortunate to go to the last career fair and set up an exhibit as on behalf of my organization, and seeing the tremendous number of career pathways there inside of the gym was just quite impressive. And so this really does speak to the ongoing commitment to the district to ensure that students have a diverse view of professional options, and not just college as the next step after graduation.
Yeah, in addition to that too, if they were to take a course outside, if either Parks and Recs or at the Y, they would not get credit for it. Now, this is a course that will give them credit, and as Jared points out, also moves them forward for a student that is looking to get certified as an EMS and move forward into becoming a paramedic. It will also give them credit and also give them the background to go forth with that.
Madam Chair, I have a question regarding, sorry, I can't see anymore, the course titled Popular Music and Diversity in American Society, the ECE course. The question that I have, it says number 2, curriculum, and number 2, the second item. This class would serve as an introduction to popular music and diversity in America, jazz, blues, top 40 rock, hip hop, and other genres. Musicians and their music studied in the context of 20th century and contemporary American society. Here's where my question comes in. The next, emphasizing issues of race, gender, class, and resistance. This is language that I see often and frequent in modern day public education, where we're looking at everything through the lens of race, gender, class, and now resistance. I unfortunately missed a curriculum committee meeting and just would like a little bit more information about this course. And I guess overall, why do we need to look at everything through this lens all the time?
Yeah, I mean, I can get an answer to your question. I don't think it's all through that. This is a UConn ECE course, so it's a UConn course that we'd be teaching. For the resistance, I think it's just how music has been used for those who have a voice. You know, there has been a lot of music that's been used as rebellion or political, so I think that's just an aspect of learning about it. It's not the whole course. It's, I think, a unit.
It's actually, I think, one, it is an EEC course, so it is a college level course. And two, it is looking at all aspects of music. And as with most arts, music does incorporate the cultural backgrounds of a cross-section of society. And I think that's looking at this type of music, and this would, I think, in my mind, would probably also include musical theater, and it would really incorporate cultural aspects as they change, and have they changed in the 20th century. But and I think it is geared at a student at a college level, and because it is a college level course, and for college credit, and I think it broadens. If you look at some of these musicians up here tonight, their backgrounds are, you know, culturally different, and that takes into consideration the music that they create. And the music they're creating is far different than was created in generations in the past, and so I think it is it is a kind of a mind-expanding course, and also taking into really different aspects of really creative thinking, and that's I think the value that it adds to the standard music, and it broadens our whole program.
My concern is when I see verbiage that separates and divides, music also brings people together, cross cultures, and I don't see any of that wording in here. So it's just a concern that I would like to express.
Any other questions related to our proposals? All right. Ask all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, thank you. Brings us to the consent agenda. And if there is nothing that would need to be removed, I'd ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. And our most favorite, who wants to take it? Nobody wants to adjourn us?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
All right, second?